Hello and welcome to Freedom March. Happy Monday. Such a wonderful weekend, you know. They go by so quickly. I'm not exactly sure. When I'm Prime Minister, it is my goal to make all Mondays an actual part of the weekend, which then will give you the Saturday, the Sunday, and the Monday. Because if you work for 4 days, then I feel like you should get 3 days off. It just seems like good parity. And I've always been a big time off kind of guy, eh? Anyway, let me send a big shout out early in the program to my friends over at Bear Pressure and for a wonderful event over the weekend. I mean, I had to show up at their event, and what can I say about it? It was absolutely phenomenal, eh? Among some of the performances there was, or the one that stood out most in my mind, was Barry the Pusher. And it's amazing because I remember when I was a little less safe, and even maybe a little too young, I remember the days that I would sneak into 601 to listen to the Pusher play. And much to my amazement, certainly much to my astonishment, after all this time, Barry the Pusher still has it, eh? I'm talking about an absolute phenomenal show of DJ and cultural talent at the Bear Pressure Vintage event this weekend. That was absolutely phenomenal. It was actually the perfect end to a weekend full of appearances that I had to make. So I made the appearance at the Baptist thing on Friday over at the Bahamas Baptist University College, where I met the inimitable Dr. Shanique Davis, who I must again contend is par excellence when it comes down to event battle buddyship, yeah? She sat on the side of me, and what a wonderful set of conversation and chuckle-worthy moments that we were able to compose while we attended that event. And then, of course, Saturday, I went out and put on my regale and attended a function that me and Spiritual Advisor will talk about at some point on this, on the broadcast. And then, of course, I had to scoot over to my friends over at Vintage, and absolutely phenomenal. That is exactly what I want to say about it. And by the way, I'll tell you what came out of that. There is a gentleman that has called me about a week ago. He claims to be the original Cooling Waters. If you are him, or if you are someone that knows him, I need you to have him give me a call on this program today, because Barry the Pusher is looking for him. And so, don't move, you hear the jingle, that means we're going to the break. But I've got more show planned for you on the next side of the break. How could I not? They've given me content all weekend. I'm Leland Miller. This is 103.5 The Beat FM. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to Freedom March. Thank you so much for staying with us through the break. I'm Levan Miller. This is 103.5 The Beat FM. It is also us here on channel 224, that's on cable, or channel 112, that's on Flow. Or if you're listening over there on Facebook, we're on ILTV Studios. For those of you that can find us on YouTube, thank you for joining us there as well. Again, a phenomenal weekend with my friends from Bear Pressure. You should actually go check them out. That's usually where I go to have what the Flintstones would ordinarily refer to as a yabba dabba do time, eh? So go down there and tell my friends that you are coming down there on my advice and go and have yourself a jolly, eh? Because we're old people, so we don't have dandies. Dandies is a little too young people-y for us. As 40-year-olds, we like to just have ourselves a jolly. Anyway, the spiritual advisor joins me in studio, Bradley Rule. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you so much, Levan. Good to be here. Producer 2 Peter 1, 20 to 21, NIV. I don't think he's ready, so we could...
So you heard about my little weekend soirees.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
What did you get?
You were busy.
You know, making appearances and that sorts of stuff, shaking hands, kissing babies. You know, it's that kind of time.
But listen, when was the last time you ever been to a real house party? You remember when we grew up? Well,
We were at the house event. Okay, just
going
tell
back,
me about it.
back in the 80s. Around, what, 80...
You're talking like kid and play.
Yeah, 1980,
Yeah.
81, 82, 83, thereabout.
Yeah. 83, my daddy was trying to convince my mommy I would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have these really good, nice house parties you go to. Because my parents built a house out east and we moved in there around 84.
Y'all was always rich.
Yeah, my father was a hard-working man, but well accomplished, I must say. And so he built this house not too far from the waterfront out east. And so in that area, they used to have some really nice house parties. And you kind of miss those days because, you know, the house parties were, you know, a private event. Only those who were invited normally show up or normally be there. You do have 1 or 2 crashes.
Sure.
And you always tell who crashed in the party because they always seem not to know how to behave.
Right,
you know?
right.
But this weekend, we got to congratulate Brian and Politics for pulling off one of the best house parties I've been
Indeed.
in
Indeed.
a long, long
Indeed.
time.
Indeed.
It was really one of those parties that reminded you of the 80s.
Yeah.
You had all the fun.
It was
fair
plush.
And, yeah, plush. All the balloons, and it was near the pool. They had a live band. You had disc jockey.
Disc jockey was there.
You know, you had a lot of professionals there.
Indeed.
1 or 2 judges.
Some of the who's were there.
It was just an interesting house party. I'm talking about a really, really good house party.
But what was it for?
So-
You haven't gotten to that.
Yeah, so they were celebrating their son, Brian Higgs Jr. He is the class of 2025, so he's a doctor.
Dr.
Brian Higgs Jr.
Always put that voice.
And so we don't know how Brian Higgs Sr. did this, but listen, you had lobster, you had steak, you had jerk chicken, you had
Curry lamb,
mutton.
curry goat,
You
yes.
had curry mutton, right? You had the carrots, you had mashed potato, you had fried snappers, you
Yes.
had coleslaw,
Yes.
you had salad,
Yes.
you had macaroni,
Yes.
and the bar was endless.
And it was unending. They
man.
ran out of nothing ever. It was,
Listen, this Brian and Paulette, you don't cost me to stay too late, man. I wasn't supposed to stay that late. Honestly, I wasn't. I think I left about 1:45.
that's good time to leave. That's good time.
Almost
That's
2 o'clock in the morning.
That's good leaving time.
Supposedly to stop me, and they know that I'm supposed to be a spiritual man.
Just all you have to do is
Wait,
tell them.
a spiritual advisor, why are you on the road this hour in the
Tell
morning?
them that you are out.
I've been to prayer meeting.
Yes, you are out and you are interceding
Yeah.
on behalf of the people.
Well, a wonderful party. A party that I will
Indeed.
not forget for a long time. It was a wonderful house,
Wonderful
but the
occasion.
food was awesome.
And Uncle P was there. I saw Uncle P. Hello, Uncle P. Uncle P is actually quickly becoming my favorite person to see when I go to that residence. He's always so full of character. I completely enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. If you've never been to a house party, call Brian and Politics. They know how to get it off. They will tell you exactly what you need to do.
Yeah, it was
to
wonderfully
have a
catered.
good old, wonderful, clean house party.
And ain't nothing
No
like
issues.
a party where you're running out of nothing. I always like that.
Yeah.
You know, because you know if it's a feast, I wanna
was really
eat,
a feast, yeah.
I wanna drink,
Yeah,
and I wanna be merry.
It was a feast.
And sometimes you go to some people's feasts, and boy, you can't be merry there. So nothing of that sort happened at the Higgs
Wonderful
the other
party,
day. It was absolutely
Absolutely. Congratulations.
amazing.
All the best.
All right.
But anyhow, now that we dealt with the flesh, let's deal with the spirit now.
Oh, praise the Lord.
Producer, 2 Peter. The reason why I'm highlighting the scripture today is because in the social media, I see a lot of folks parading around, claiming to be prophets and prophetess, and you know that they got this word from the Lord and this, that, and next, and they making these predictions about the election and then about certain candidates. But let's see what 2 Peter 1:20 and 21 has to say about prophecy. Because for some strange reason, some folks believe that they should just get up and tell people that they're a prophet or they're prophesying and think that it shouldn't be questioned. But in the first place, let's see what Peter says here. Knowing this first. Now you need to know this. I see a female so-called prophetesses in the social media making some claims.
Mm-hmm.
But go to 2 Peter 1:20 and 21, and Peter says, knowing this first, you have to know this, that no prophecy of the scripture is of any private interpretation. For prophecy came not in old time by the will of man. This ain't got nothing to do with you. For the prophecy came not in old time by the will of man, but holy men of God spake as they were moved by God's Holy Spirit. So in order for any prophecy or prophet to be legit, it has to be authorized by the Holy Spirit. 2 Peter 1:20 and 21 says, knowing this first, that no prophecy of the scripture is of any private intention. You can't sit down or lay down and dream this. It doesn't work that way. For the prophecy came not in old time by the will of man, but holy men of God spake as they were moved by the Holy Ghost. 2 Peter 1:20 to 21. The King James Version did a wonderful rendition of these two verses here. Thank you so much, producer. The word of God is forever and ever blessed. Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, spiritual producer. Well, you know, on last week, I had gone on and on and on for quite some time about how the game of politics always makes such strange bedfellows. And over the weekend, the more I look throughout social media and throughout regular print media and conventional radio and TV media, I note that all around the Commonwealth, politics is picking up. One of the other things that got my attention were the utterances of a young senator by the name of Maxine Seymour on her feet in the Senate on last week. And there are some things that stood out in my mind that I can't quite make complete sense of. One of them primarily was her concern for drowning children and the absence of lifeguards from our beaches. And then, you see, my brain does this interesting thing where I have sometimes unwanted recall of what the facts are. And the facts are that sometime during the last Christie administration, then Prime Minister Perry Gladstone Christie, in his wisdom, thought it necessary to establish a Beaches and Parks Authority, a public parks and beaches authority. Again, brilliance from the mind of Perry Gladstone Christie, eh? And so his chairman, then Senator Greg Burrows, charged with the chairmanship of the Beaches and Parks Authority through whatever mechanism they use, appointed lifeguards and had them posted to various beaches around New Providence in particular. The only thing that happened was the Free National Movement came to power in 2017. Then, Member of Parliament for St. Barnabas, Shannon O'Cartwright, was made chairman of the Public Beaches and Parks Authority. And then the lifeguards went missing. So let's hear what Senator Maxine Seymour had to say about the lifeguards in the Senate on last week.
parting the Red Sea, you know, the rain. They just had, you know, Noah and the ark. And they named so many stories, Madam President, that involved water. And then I used the American Red Cross Society teaching guide and, you know, all of their tools, all of their PowerPoints and videos and handouts to really remind our children of some basic safety rules. Swimming with a buddy, not running near the water, following the rules, being careful, like playing with a ball in the water. Because sometimes it goes out a little bit, you start to follow it, they're in trouble. Shouting for help, dialing 911. So we went through the whole gamut. And I explained to them that these rules are in place for them to be able to have fun and enjoy. Not because adults want to cram their style. And we really went over it. And like I explained to them, so many things could happen for you to drown. You don't even have to be swimming. You could be walking past, you could accidentally fall in the water. So many things can happen, Madam President. Okay? And so if we have a surplus in this budget, what we ought to fund is lifeguards, at least on our busiest beaches, Madam President, during weekends, public holidays, and peak hours. In fact, I recently met with a Bahamian aquatic safety professional, Madam President, by the name of Braven Burrows, and he's the CEO of OGI Limited, a company that he's been developing for more than 13 years. And I was able to sit with him and really discuss the cost and logistics of training, certification, and deployment of lifeguards on heavy populated public beaches. And Madam President, while this might be too late for those we've lost, it's not too late for those we can still save. And so, Madam President, if we truly have a surplus, and this is something that for years now I've been saying, we need lifeguards. It's important, okay? Because we live on an island. That's a basic, this isn't even rocket science, Madam President. This isn't even rocket science. This is literally basic, because there are public beaches that are unmanned, okay? So, Madam President, we can invest in life-saving measures for our people, our families, and our visitors. Because public beaches, Madam President, like public parks, must be safe, welcoming spaces for all Bahamians, Madam President. Madam President?
And so to that, the only thing I did was went into a Google search, right? And asked Google, what happened to the lifeguards? And here's what Google told me. The Anglican MP, former administration trained and deployed 12 lifeguards. This is an eyewitness news story. Nassau, Bahamas. It is dated the 1st of August, 2019. Amid a series of drownings this month, Anglican MP Glenys Anna Martin yesterday questioned what happened to a lifeguard program which she said was introduced for a number of public beaches in New Providence under the Christie administration. According to the former cabinet minister, the former administration selected and trained a dozen lifeguards who were posted on a number of beaches, including Long Wharf, where Ethan Miller, 16, drowned while swimming on Monday around 3 p.m. Hannah Martin said someone needs to explain what has happened. Lifeguards were recruited and trained, she told Eyewitness News. We had 12 in total that were a part of the first graduating class of lifeguards. They were deployed on Montague, Junkanoo Beach, and Long Wharf. On holidays, they would check Goodman's Bay and Sanders Beach. Hannah Martin continued, I think the question has to be raised. What is the status, and has it been abandoned? If it has been abandoned, in light of what we have seen, what is the response of a government? Calls placed to Shannon Norn Cartwright, chairman of the Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches Authority, were not returned up to press time. The lack of presence of lifeguards on public beaches has raised in the aftermath of 7 drownings this month. Public beaches need lifeguards to oversee them, like any tourist destination, and not just limited to resorts. Facebook user Junior Russell said in response to the Eyewitness News broadcast last night. Tangerine Curry Dinnick, a lifeguard trainer and Evolve functional fitness owner, opined that public outcry for the implementation of lifeguards on public beaches is warranted. Anything could happen to anyone at any point. You could hit your head or have a stroke, but if no one is around, it's hard to save yourself or have someone to help save you. Some of these drownings, might have been prevented if someone was out there who was responsible and keeping an eye out. When no one is looking out, it literally takes seconds for someone to drown. And so when I heard of Senator Maxine Seymour's concern, Instantly, I absolutely agreed with the senator. I think that she is completely correct. I think that lifeguards are, considerably important, particularly in the kind of country that we live in. So the question for me, Senator Maxine, would be, can somebody please ask Shannon Dawn Cartwright, since he hadn't returned a phone call up to press time in this story, what ever happened to the lifeguards? Where did they go? And why were the lifeguards so easily disposed of almost immediately upon the change of an administration? Is public safety something that we are prepared to toy with politically, or is public safety only something that is important once we take public office? Now I know you are a novice politician and, for all intents and purposes, a newcomer. But I will give you the same advice that I give people in public life or that aspire to public life always. And you pay me for no advice. So at any point in my advice giving, please feel free to invite me to go and fly a frisbee somewhere. But if you are going to become somebody that is interested in public life, that is interested in the goings-on in the public sphere, it would do you good to ensure that you and your speechwriter acquaints themselves with the facts that preceded you. Because it was Charles W. Sanders that oft said to us, as students, that you cannot just preach the text. You must understand the origin of the thing. You cannot just arrive at the answer, because you have to make sure that you understand the formula. It is a principle that I apply to my life every single day, actually. Something that I never let myself forget. And so I'm never anxious to run on with nonsense about who should, could, and did, or supposed to do what without finding out what happened in the beginning. Because less and until we know how we got to where we are, there is no way to know how to fix it. Now, I will say this. The present chairman of the Beaches and Parks Authority is obviously culpably negligent if there are still no lifeguards on that beach. It's been 4 years. But Maxine, Senator, the Honorable, Shannon Dawn moved the lifeguards. And so the first place to look would have been in a phone call with Shannon Dawn and ask him, where are the lifeguards? Don't move, leave until then, Freedom March. We'll be right back. Hello, welcome back to Freedom March. Thank you so much for staying with us through the break. I'm Levan Miller. You're joining us on 103.5 The Beat FM, on channel 224 or channel 112. That's on cable and flow. And of course, on ILTV studios. Spiritual advisor?
The Work Center, located on Rosetta Street across from Roberts Furniture, is your one-stop shop for back-to-school dickies, timberlands, and many, many more. Come on down and let their friendly staff assist you with getting ready for back to school. Are your dogs hungry and tired of low-quality food? Give them the best and modernistic. We carry all the top brands: Taste of the Wild, Diamond Naturals, Victor, Anook Shook, all of the lowest prices in town. If you're on a budget, we've got 50-pound bags starting at just $49, and for a limited time, buy any large bag of dog food and get a $10 coupon redeemable on select dog toys and treats. If you can't make it in, shop online at www.modernisticgarden.com and we'll deliver right to your door. Your pet deserves quality, your wallet deserves savings. Shop in store or shop online today. Hurry, offer won't last. Thank you, producer.
Thank you very much, spiritual advisor. And producer, just for the benefit of the spiritual advisor, who sometimes I suspect lives under a rock somewhere, you would ask about VJ Edgecombe. You remember that? And how you had never heard or never seen about him, and the only thing you knew about him was...
Who was he?
He was a Bahamian. That's all you know.
VJ Edgecombe.
His name is Valdez Edgecombe Jr.
And what does he do?
I have no clue where Valdez Edgecombe Sr. is. I just know that I've heard no mention of it. But VJ Edgecombe has been an up-and-coming rising star in sports, in American basketball. But there's only one type of basketball. No, there's European basketball.
Yeah.
But in American basketball, and so here are some highlights. We have the highlight clips for him ready? And just in case that wasn't entertaining enough for you, did you see it?
I've seen it.
You see how fantastic he is?
Yeah, I wasn't following him though.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Okay.
But in case sports and athleticism isn't your thing and you like buffoonery, here is some entertaining buffoonery that I thought was worth another collective laugh that happened at the F&M rally the other night. Take us to the clip. And so that is Adrian White doing what I suspect he thinks is entertaining. I get it, all politicians dance, but of course, you remember Hubert Minnis was horrible at it. I don't know what that, he looks like he has a butt itch. But I'm sure he thinks it's entertaining, and maybe it's me, maybe I'm discriminatory. Yeah, maybe I'm the one with discrimination in my heart. I just think that people like that behave a certain way around people not like that because they assume that that is what people not like that want. That again, pray for me.
Is that what we're doing here?
Pray for me. Pray for me is what I said. I just told you what to do. Pray for me. Anyway, and so since Senator Maxine was so concerned about drownings and that sort, I told you, strange bedfellows do politics make. It almost either seems to me like Senator Maxine is someone that should partner with the member parliament for South Beach, or maybe she should just join his team in case she don't get nominated, because nominations are hard over there to get. So let's see what the member parliament for South Beach did in response to drownings over the summer.
To visit and take place or take part in the amenities here, have a very safe experience. So we are indeed delighted today to be donating to the swim complex here an automated defibrillator, or an AED. We all understand the importance of safety and how vital it is to ensure that we are ahead of any unforeseen emergencies. This initiative really took place or came about as a result of a visit that we had here at the complex. We spoke with the staff. They made some suggestions. We listened, we responded. And so today we are so happy to be able to to partner with the South Beach pools here in our constituency.
And so there you see the Member of Parliament for South Beach, just as early as May, I think it was, go to the South Beach pools, which was closed under the last Free National Movement administration, even though my dear, beloved brother and friend Jeffrey Lloyd and his fellow colleague minister walk up and down and cut all kind of ribbon and put up one bunch of billboard, the pools were still inoperable. But praise be the name of God, someone somewhere decided that they would return to the people of South Beach something that we've long awaited for, because unlike these other communities, South Beach have pool, man, because we's high society people and we ain't like those other people. And so we are happy to have our pool back, and we're happy that Maxine Seymour, Senator the Honorable, believes that drowning is very important, and I can't say whether or not Shannon Lorne Cartwright believes that, but I do know that Barkus Roll believes it, and so, as such, you've seen in his actions that while he may have no executive power to put a lifeguard back on the beach, what he did do is provide a defibrillator. But there was something else that Maxine Seymour said that is near and dear to my heart, and I know that it's near and dear to the heart of the Member of Parliament, because even though I can't find the clip, I have seen him at one of the PLP get-together, I don't know what they just call them, hand to the Minister of Transportation, the Honorable JoBeth Colby Davis, something to address this problem. But, you know, I'm not in government, so I have no clue what they're doing with it. And I'm an FNA, so maybe they don't feel the need to tell me. But let's see what else Senator Maxine Seymour had to say.
In our country, it's mandatory for children to attend school. We all know the law. And Madam President, for too many of our students, the simple act of getting to school each morning is a risk they should never have to face. Because in this capital, Madam President, we still do not have a reliable, safe, or even a free public bus system for our school children. On some of the islands we have it, but perhaps it's the time to consider in New Providence, where 300,000 people, live, and children wake up every morning before dawn to have to walk long distances on dangerous roads. And Madam President, I'm just saying to this administration, Madam President, that since exactly what I just said, it is on the Family Islands, keep up. Now listen, Mr. Senator, Honorable Senator, I just said that they're on some of the islands, but that on our island where more than 300,000 people live, perhaps it's time to consider it. And Madam President, what I'm doing here is telling you what matters to me, because the people matter to me. The people matter to the Free National Movement. The people are our priority, Madam President. The people are the priority of our leader, and he said it. And so, Madam President, what I am suggesting to this administration is that since there's a projected surplus, here are some things you could do with it to have real impact on the lives of everyday Bahamians in our country, Madam President. Okay? And so, Madam President, these children wake up, they have to walk long distances, sometimes in the dark, most of the time in the heat, sometimes with no sidewalks and no protection. Thank goodness there are some sidewalks, Madam President. And along those roads, Madam President, may I ask the chair for some protection, Madam President?
Order. Senators.
I know.
Senate, order. Order.
Thank you. Madam President, along these routes to go to school, there are far too many children, too many students who encounter harassment, danger, and predatory behavior, Madam President. Sometimes, as these children walk along the way, inappropriate comments are hurled at them, shouted at them from car windows. Men attempt to lure them in to catch a ride. They are threatened or intimidated by strangers, Madam President. It's a scary thing, because if they have an after-school activity, God forbid, and they have to walk home and it's a little dark, they might not make it home, as we realized very recently. And so, Madam President, these aren't stories I'm telling. These are lived experiences of many young Bahamians. And any parent or teacher, Madam President, knows that this is true, because I've spoken to the teachers. And so, Madam President, for our society to demand that our children attend school, we cannot just ignore the daily risks that they face getting there. Because if education is a right, Madam President, and it is, then safe, accessible transportation to school should also be a right. And it's time that we explore it on every island. And that's the thing, because I heard my good senators say that it's on some islands, but that's not what this budget is about, Madam President. This budget is about island by island by island. And so don't stop until all of the islands are impacted. That's right, even Bimini. So, Madam President, in other parts of the Bahamas, the Family Islands, we include public transportation. And sometimes, Madam President, it's provided. But even so, I've spoken to teachers and I've spoken to students because there are some places that are simply not, they don't have a bus route, Madam President. I could tell you Hannah Road, Faith Avenue South, Madam President, and the list goes on. Adriel, what bus was she supposed to catch if she went to Anatole? Okay? And so, Madam President, those are places where Adriel could catch a bus. She went to Anatole. She lived close by, but she still needed a bus that maybe didn't run. People on Han Road, people on Seabreeze Lane, there's so many people who are not serviced by the public transportation system that needs to be checked, and drivers with the license to service those routes need to be made to held account. But, Madam President, we're talking about keeping our children safe, Madam President. So if we truly have a surplus, should it...
And so she seems increasingly concerned about access to public transportation. Funny enough, among the places that she is called, I think Seabreeze Lane may be in the area that she is contesting, or hopes to contest, I believe, to be the Member of Parliament. I mean, albeit if she gets the nomination, because she might end up not getting the nomination. But she called Hannah Road. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, is either in the Yamagra constituency or the Elizabeth constituency. I heard her talk about Faith Avenue and Faith Avenue South. And yeah, I can say this. I know that that used to be a road of great concern to people like Candace Scott, who had children that attended the Anatole Rogers School. But something about her statement caught my attention, and it was that she mentioned little Adriel Moxie. And I recall that there was a statement from my Member of Parliament, because that happened in the constituency that I lived in, or that I live in, and have lived in for 31 years. So I've kept my eyes very close to this matter. And I recall that outside of the unfortunate incident, since the incident, and of course, hindsight is 2020, I recall that there were CCTV cameras that went up in the Faith Avenue South area. There are CCTV cameras that didn't exist that are on the Blue Hill Road South. And so the entire school district of South Beach is cased with CCTV because there are also new CCTV fittings at the intersection of, Zion Boulevard and East Street South. And then I remember that there was an actual statement released by the Member of Parliament for the area who detests and decried this very thing. Do we have that statement? Fantastic. But what I also know is that if you know the area well enough, no public transportation could save Adriel from the unfortunate incident that she had. Because she lived 4 walking minutes from the school. So she wouldn't be taking public transportation under ordinary circumstances. And because I can hear his voice in the airshot, and I know whose voice it is, there is a senator in there by the name of Reuben Ramming suggesting that, oh, we did send a bus route in the back there. Yes, you were right, Senator. You all sent a 22 in the back of South Beach. You and me know that that route had nothing to do with the residents of South Beach. You and me know that it was a horribly constructed route and that it never would work. You and me know that at no time did that route ever benefit in any material way the residents of South Beach. And do you know how I know? Because unlike you and Senator Maxian, I actually live in South Beach. And so it is offensive when I hear people say things like, oh, we gave them a bus route and they didn't want it. If you give me a bus route to nowhere, you are damn skippy. I don't want it. And what I also know, not because I care about the PLP, not because I could give a jumping jelly bean what they do, is that I have heard my member of parliament propose a route to the Minister of Transportation. And so I will say to him, like I've said to the former minister or member of parliament, that access to public transportation, like Senator Maxine Seymour said, should be included in the rights of a child as access to education is. Because there is no way that in 20 years that we built the Anatole Rogers School with a population, I'm told, of about 2,400 students. The Bahamas Academy School, I'm told, with a population of about 1,300 students. And the CV Bethel High School, which is a little more than 20 years old, that came about in 2000. So that might be 25 years old now. And we did all of that without ever considering access to public transportation for school-aged children. And so I say, Senator, strange bedfellows do politics make. Maybe you and the member of parliament for South Beach, since you seem to be very much in keeping with all the things that he think are important, maybe you all two should get together. You're in the Senate, he's in the House of Assembly. What a wonderful bipartisan set of things you all could work on. Because after all, it ain't like you have no nomination yet. And with the way things going, you mightn't get one. Wouldn't it be wonderful to know that if you are as concerned as you say you are on the floor of the Senate, that even when you were not in power, you were able to move policy that benefited the people? That's just the way I think about it. Who knows? Maybe that's why the FNA has to be elected. Maybe that is why the people need to consider the FNA. And maybe that is why Hubert Minnis needs to just hurry up and come, let's have this conversation so we could get our FNA from around y'all and start to do some things that are progressive for the few months we will spend in opposition and as we begin to line ourselves up to govern. Yeah? That's enough of that. Anyway, I see Jamal Morris is crying sour lime in the news. I'm not sorry for him.
Before you go on, though.
Go on.
Let me make a quick comment about lifeguards on the beaches. Of course, it is a major concern because it is the summer. And the aim is, especially during the summer break, school break, flock to the beaches.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's why we have these beautiful beaches for you to go to. And so the argument is, we've had some drownings, and there's some concerns about lifeguards being in place. And the former Beaches and Park chairman is being accused of ending the program for lifeguards. Now, I had a quick little chat with the former Beaches and Park chairman.
Oh, you that good? Because you ain't moved from the table when you talk to him.
He's talking to me right now.
Oh, wow.
So when you talk with whisper, I don't be whispering. These people don't be whispering, they be typing.
Okay.
And so the Beaches and Park, the former Beaches and Park chairman has revealed something very startling to me.
Tell us.
That I find to be extremely difficult to accept. The former Beaches and Park chairman, Shannon Cartwright, who was the member of parliament for St. Force and Barnabas, says that when he took office as chairman of Beaches and Parks, 75% of the lifeguards couldn't swim.
Okay.
And they were hired under the former administration. And so he says what they're trying to do is trying to get the program restarted because they recognize how serious the problem was.
Right.
Now, I was also able to chat with the present chairman of Beaches and Parks, and that'll be the member of parliament for Mount Moriah,
Sure.
Honorable Michael Bonway. And he is in fact confirming to me that at present they do have lifeguards on the beaches.
Okay.
He's preparing some other information to send to me shortly. And so I'm saying that sometimes, you know...
It takes 5 years to train 12 lifeguards.
Well, look at this.
That's what you say. You say sometimes.
Let's look at this. Let's look at this. Now, the former Beaches and Park chairman is sending me a paragraph, right? But since he demitted office from the Beaches and Parks, we have a new chairman.
Yes.
We're now 4 years into that chairmanship.
Right.
So why hasn't that issue been addressed?
You've been listening to the show? You was here with me the whole time? Were you here when I said?
So,
were you here with me when I said?
If you're gonna blame one person, then you have to blame all two.
I want you to make sure stop talking to the whisperer long enough to hear what I say. Because what I said was, if 4 years into his tenure, the present chairman of the Beaches and Parks Authority hasn't rectified this problem, then he as well is culpably negligent.
Great.
You remember me saying that?
Okay.
Yeah,
now,
see, I don't tote water. That's the problem.
Okay.
All right, but what I want to say...
Because I'll have to call you the water boy.
I don't tote water. I don't tote water.
You're not the water boy.
You could look at me and see. Nothing about me watering.
But we understand that the Defense Force was engaged. We engaged the Defense Force to talk about a partnership.
Now, let me tell you why it's all malarkey. Guess what the Beaches and Parks... Let me tell you why it's foolishness. The Beaches and Parks Authority has something called a chairman, correct?
Yeah.
That means it is a board, correct?
Yeah.
And that means that the board has a budget, correct?
Okay.
And do you know who's responsible for the budget? The chairman. So why didn't they just headhunt talent? Because it wouldn't be like they were hiring public servants. They could literally reach into their budget for employees, just how they would populate any other board or any other authority, just how they would do the NHI. When I sat at the board of NHI, we had the power to hire all the way up to everybody except for the GM. The chairman of the Beaches and Parks Authority enjoys that same privilege. So all he had to do is get off his laurels, drive over the bridge, and take their lifeguards and offer them more money and more benefits.
So both chairmen could have done that.
Whichever one of them you want to call. They could see. I don't like people that keep telling me about the disease. I want to know about the cure.
Which one you want to call?
I won't call Shannon on Cartwright because
that don't make no sense.
I could tell you why I calling him. Because obviously his colleague...
That's more than 5 years ago.
But obviously his colleague, member of parliament, don't know where the lifeguards gone. You hear anybody in the PLP asking for lifeguards? No. Who asked for the lifeguards?
Well...
Senator Maxine Seymour.
Right.
And all I'm saying is, Maxine, don't put that kind of pressure on your party because your party take the lifeguards off the beach.
But we do have some drownings that we need to be concerned about. That's happening on the beaches.
I don't disagree with you. Me and you are agreeing.
Right.
I'm saying
and so we need to find a way to get this problem resolved.
Everybody family got a drunken uncle. We have agreed as a family that we don't talk to the neighbor about our drunk uncle. So if Maxine Seymour knows or knew that Shannon or Cartwright took them off the beach and she's still coming to Parliament to bloviate, then maybe it might be malicious.
Yeah, but it could have been resolved.
I'm not saying... You here with me?
Yeah, I understand that.
I think Mikhail Barnaby could have fixed this.
By going back 5 years to somebody who's now making a comment about a problem that could have been solved.
And I started in my salvo by saying that if 4 years into office, the present chairman hasn't fixed the problem, then he is culpable. Did I say that?
All right, so I'm waiting on him to reply to you.
Okay.
Let's see what he says.
Because they are in charge of an authority.
Yeah.
And unlike ministries, which I think are disastrous, I think we should do away with government ministries. They just make everything an authority or a corporation, right? Ministries are for filing paper. That's their jobs. It's for keeping the history of the actions that have taken place. But if you want things done, you need to go to an authority or to a corporation. And as chairman, isn't he executive chairman?
Yeah.
And if he's executive chairman of the corporation, then it means he has the power to decide.
But here's what I'm trying to figure out though. Why would you hire a lifeguard that can't swim?
But according to Glennis Hannah Martin, they didn't just hire them. They hired them and trained them.
So you're just giving people jobs?
No.
Because of votes.
Glennis Hannah Martin's article in the August 1st, 2019 Eyewitness News Story said, we hired 12 lifeguards and we trained them. So what else did you train them to do other than be lifeguards?
They must be able to swim.
So I'm saying to you, spiritual advisor, see, this is why when Darren Henfield them run on Rami, but Church Hilly and job and foolishness, I don't listen to them. Because if all you could do in government is copy and paste, and if all you could do is give me easy solutions, if the only mathematical equation you could solve is what is 1 plus 1, I don't need you in my maths class. You certainly can't be the maths teacher. So I don't ever get in the business of people in places of power or influence telling me how difficult the problem is. Because there are people like Joe Public, like Joe Blogs, like Jane Nobody, who don't have time to worry about you with your master's degree in accounts that can't figure out what is 1 plus 1. And while the grass growing, the cows are dying, and at some point, governance has to be a bit more efficient than that. Anyway, the jingle is here. I'm Leland Miller. This is Freedom March. We go on to the break, and we'll be back. Hello, welcome back to Freedom March. Thank you so much for staying with us through the break. I believe in Billy. We're on 103.5 the Beat FM. We're on channel 224, we're on channel 112, and we are on ILTV Studios on Facebook. I don't know, producer. Maybe it's a lazy eye. I don't know. For the people out there that say that my eye look like it going left, I don't know what's wrong with it. Maybe it's a lazy eye. Who knows? I feel like I'm looking straight at you all, but if I'm not, all you need to do is you tilt your body to the left a little bit, and then I imagine it'll be straight, eh? So let's, before we get to the birthday spiritual, I do want to do this thing. So I saw this clip from Jamal Boss, and oh boy, I feel so sorry for Jamal. All I want to say is, Lord. Lord. He's always been the teacup token boy of both the former leaders of the Free National Movement, who eventually made him a senator. And I suspect that that is wonderful, because if he dies today or tomorrow, at least he would be entitled to a state-recognized funeral, which I believe is something of notable mention, eh? He certainly would have outdone me in life, because I would be buried as a common man. Notwithstanding that and his accomplishment as being the favorite teacup token boy of the leadership of the Free National Movement, somehow it appears, if I had to estimate it, that Jamal Morse has fallen out of grace with the leadership. Let's go to the interview with Jamal.
I felt as though I'm a better person. I felt as though I would be the better person for the job, but like I said, the party made a decision, and I just gotta accept and maybe just move on. But persons in South Beach, I guess a lot of them wasn't aware of what transpired on Thursday when the party made a decision. So, but a lot of persons, when they saw it on paper or on the social media, a lot of persons called me and asked me, sure, I say, yeah, it's true. The party did make a decision last week, Thursday. Mr. Henfield, Senator Henfield was ratified, and he's going to be moving forward in your area. And, so they were shocked by it, and felt as though it should have been me.
And so Jamal, Lord, Jamal said it should have been me. I don't even know how I feel about that. I wouldn't come on TV and say that. I would say the party has made its decision. They have pivoted in the direction that they think is best for the party and to do what is best to make us a formidable force. Senator Henfield is a member in good standing in the Free National Movement, and I wish him well in his endeavors in South Beach. But I must do this because as a member of South Beach, as a resident of South Beach, as someone that has had deplorable member of parliament after deplorable member of parliament with an appreciation in the deplorability, is that the right word? They have been worsening over the time. We went from Iger to Marcel, and that wasn't brilliant. We went to Fenton Nemore, and that wasn't brilliant. At some point, I didn't even know where Fenton Nemore's headquarters was. And I'm very active in my community. We went from that to the absolute disaster that was the tenure of Cleola Hamilton. And we went from that to my dearly beloved friend and brother, the Venerable Deacon Jeffrey Lloyd, who I thought would be a glimmer of hope, but I mean, I cannot begin to explain in English words my chagrin with the tenure that is that of Jeffrey Lloyd. And now we have Barkus Road. And for whatever it is worth, the guy seems to get the little things right. The guy seems to know exactly when to show up. And he seems to know exactly what to do when he gets there. I can't remember a time when my community had street signs that were all posted, and paintings that were all posted, and CCTV monitoring. And I can't remember a time when CV Bethel wasn't unpassable after 20 minutes of rain. I couldn't remember a time where the holes in the road between East Street South Police Station and the main entrance of South Beach weren't impassable due to craters. I didn't remember when last. And then one thing changed. And I feel the same way about community representation as I do about crime. At any point crime gets out of hand, I want them to fire one person, the commissioner of police, nobody else. Because that is who has the responsibility for it. And I feel the same thing at the community level, that if this community is going to a rut, then we should fire the member of parliament. And I must admit that I sat in South Beach after Matthew. And what a horrendous experience it was to watch my member of parliament, Cleola Hamilton, hide in unmarked cars. It was a tragedy to see that and to witness it happen. And I never want to witness it again. And I believe, it is my view, that the representation that we have in South Beach now is a far, far better level of representation from what I saw under Cleola Hamilton. It is a far better representation from what I witnessed under the tenure of my dearly beloved friend and brother, Jeffrey Lloyd. What pains me is the man that the Free National Movement has opted to send to my community, while he is a man I have great revere for, and he knows that I will go to war with him. He knows I would strap boots on and fight in the road with him. He knows I would go from here to Tortuga with him on a raft. What he must also know is that my community matters to me more than most things, because he knows that when the storms come, he knows that it is my history that after the storm, you are guaranteed Lee Vanilla will appear. It is what I did for the people of South Beach in 2017, and it is what I've done on occasion for people that weren't the people of South Beach. And so hurricanes and the way we respond to them matter to me. And I must say, again, it is to my chagrin, the response that my dear beloved mentor and first commanding officer offered the people of Abaco, who I know is the closest thing to his heart outside of his wife and his granddaughter. Then I cannot sit and in good faith say that I could honestly get behind the candidate that the Free National Movement has sent to my constituency. Sir, I wish they had sent you to Bamboo Town, because Bamboo Town, believe it or not, doesn't suffer from the kind of problems that we have in high rising tides and in hurricane conditions. Strangely enough, I wish they had sent you there. I would happily invite the people of Bamboo Town to consider you there. But as somebody that has watched houses washed away in Matthew, that watched people not be able to inhabit their houses for 3 to 6 months post Matthew, that watched people wells be contaminated and couldn't get access to good running water and couldn't get roof repairs and couldn't get access to so many things that seem basic, albeit we were here in the capital. And I get it, that was a PLP administration. I told you already, Cleola Hamilton's tenure was an absolute disaster. As a matter of fact, they should register that tenure as something to be studied so that everyone knows what not to do in public life. There is no way me in good faith, living where I've lived for 31 years, knowing what I know about what happened post-Dorian, witnessing what I've witnessed post-Matthew, understanding that Darren Henfield loves nothing more in life than his loving wife and his amazing granddaughter. The only thing he loves more than North Abaco are those two things. And that he wouldn't consider a run in South Abaco, which is the only other place I've ever heard him talk about in my life. And that is only because he have himself a Sandy Point gal. So, where does this newfound love and fascination for South Beach come from? Particularly from the member of parliament that was chased out of his own hometown. Please take us to the clip.
You are a disgrace. You are a disgrace. Yeah, you type a disgrace. Disgrace.
He's tired of seeing your boss. It's time for you to stand up.
Yeah, disgrace. That's what you are. A disgrace.
Do the country a favor and resign.
I resign.
They let Sams resign. Y'all need to resign.
Back down. Sams was better than any of y'all. I don't know why you going. Y'all should go.
They too good to even walk. They too good to even walk among us.
Somewhere.
That's their boss here. Now when he leaves, they ain't worrying because they're and they're in charge of foreign affairs and the armed forces. Yeah, that's their boss.
Wow, 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 to drive past the people, to drive past the people.
And so, Commander, you know, I see they have you registered as a businessman. Congratulations on that new journey. I don't even know what it is, but can I address you in the one way that I know how, Commander? There is no way we could tolerate another set of that in South Beach. There is just absolutely no way, after living through Aguilera and Fenton and Cleola and Jeff, that the people of South Beach could dare attempt to consider this nomination, simply because, Commander, you know and I know that every single soldier at some point has one crucial flaw. And so there are men that are heavy on operations, but their administration is weak. Then there are administrative officers, but they have no sea legs. And then there are good seagoing officers, but you can't take them on any infantry mission. And Commander, when it comes to responses, particularly from natural disasters, I don't think you have that down in your strong suit. And that is the one challenge that the people of South Beach are enormously plagued with, and it is something that is increasingly getting worse. And when asked about it, when asked about why would you leave the people of North Abaco, here was your response, Commander.
I believe Dr. Menace had a very tough time in office, a Churchillian time in office. Only Churchill in the Commonwealth had a rougher time in office than he did. I believe that he did his best. We did our best. I believe that he did a good job under the circumstances in which we face. But it's time to move on. There's a process in the Free National Movement for the selection of candidates. We have followed that process as far as I'm aware and fully concerned. And the Free National Movement is rebuilding, reorganizing, reshaping itself and preparing to take the government to the Bahamas. The Bahamian people appreciate that the Free National Movement has been the government of the Bahamas on more than one occasion, right? We have governed with integrity, we have governed with transparency, we have governed with trust, and we will govern again in the same way that we have in the past. The Bahamian people will have an opportunity to look at what is being offered.
And I don't get it. So we needed to move away from Menace. We needed to move away from that period. It was Churchillian, according to you, sir. But there is no way Mr. Menace, one alone, is responsible. And so you say you want to be the Member of Parliament for South Beach. And this one is personal. Because I is a poor boy, and moving to South Beach was the come up for me. And so the likelihood of me moving past South Beach isn't something I see clearly in the lens of my future. That means that should the Lord tarry his coming, I'm possibly going to do an additional 30 years in South Beach. And what that looks like matters to me. And so they asked you, why South Beach? Why now? And I'm going to give the people that listen to Freedom March their opportunity to hear your response.
Among the greatest issues we have in the country is that politicians are elected to office and neglect to listen to the voices of the people who send them to office. We need to listen more to the Bahamian people. If we listen more, we'll appreciate their concerns, their hurts, the pains and the sufferings. People are hurting in this country. Crime is out of control. Bahamians can hardly go and make a deposit at the bank without being killed or robbed. Something has to be fixed in this country. The healthcare system is out of whack. We have clinics all across our family of violence. We have the hospital here in Nassau, and people can hardly be served. We can do better in the Bahamas. We are among the best and finest countries in this region, if not the best. We have to be able to provide a better way of life for Bahamians in this country. My name is Darren Henfield. I'm a husband, a father, and a grandfather. We need to take this country back and put it on the right track for our children, for future generations of Bahamians yet unborn.
And that's just not enough for me.
That's a super commercial.
That is not enough for me.
That is super. I can't
That
see
is
even.
not.
I can't see even criticizing
I am a
that.
husband, a father,
Right, he's a family
and a
man.
grandfather,
So
and we must take
he's a
this
family
country
man.
back and give it.
Right, so he's a family man. He understands pain and hurt. He has family. He has a wife. He has children. He has grandchildren, and he's come from a structured home. This is what we need in society. So when you have people like them representing you, you can always bet for sure or know for sure that the country will head in the right direction.
Well, the Tribune said, North Abaco MP Darren Henfield says he gave constituents his best effort as their representative the last 4 years. The incumbent was recently ratified as one of the Free National Movement's candidates for the 2022 general election and told the Tribune that the governing party did the best that it could due to the circumstances. Asked if he felt confident. Yeah, asked if he felt confident in being re-elected to represent his constituency. Mr. Henfield said it was up to the people of North Abaco to make that decision. However, he said he would continue to work as hard as possible to earn and to keep their trust. Mr. Henfield said, I did my best, and I think most people will understand that I did my best. I rode out the storm with my people. The storm was very destructive to all of us, he said on Friday. And everyone that knows Levan Miller and that follows me anywhere on social media knows that I tipped my hat to the commander for making that decision to ride out that storm. That's not where his transgression lies. The response to people, the inhumane, the Prime Minister didn't attend. The Member of Parliament didn't go to see the people of North Abaco. I know what they're going to say. It was COVID. Yeah, but they were also extenuating circumstances. And you all invite all kind of people from Nassau to come and ride on a plane with them. And all I'm saying to you, spiritual advisor, let's go to the big days, is I ain't sure that's what I'm ready to sign up for in South
Okay,
Beach.
so we'll see.
All right, let's go to birthdays.
Let's see what happens. All right, we got some birthdays. Today, Levon Miller always praising Jomo. Oh, sorry. Where's the list?
Tell them don't play with me. I got 88 Jomo Campbell photos in my phone right now. When you say Jomo, I just think about Omo. And if they say it one more time, we might have to miss the birthday segment.
Where did this come from? Please play this on your show Monday. Oh, so yeah.
Where's the birthday list?
All right. Let's see. Okay. Whitney Winters. Happy birthday to 4-year-old Whitney Winters. It's coming from your mother, Deisha. Winters' grandparents, Fred Dreker and Sam Ship Winters, and her great-grandmother, Annie Roberts, and her aunties, Kira, Aunt Edna, Knowles, Carmen, Erling, Doris from... Who just write this up, man? Anna Knowles, Carmen, Erling, Doris from her uncles, Herbert Roberts Jr. Sorry, from my uncles, Herbert Roberts, R.J. Roberts, Preston Roberts, Dr. Christopher Roberts, Police Corporal Julian Roberts. We all love you. May God continue to dwell among you with good health and long life. Anyway, we'll leave it at another time. Lucy Roll. I would like to wish my niece, Miss Lucy Roll in Nassau, happy birthday. It's coming from her sons, grandchildren, sisters, aunts, uncles, the rest of the family, especially your Aunt Shami. They all want you to enjoy your birthday. So happy birthday to Lucy Roll. Richmond Maycock, happy birthday to Richmond Maycock. Greetings coming from your wife and children from the Maycock family, Moss and Raman family. Do enjoy your special day. Marvin, we would like to wish Marvin happy birthday. It's coming from his friends, especially Tika and Shelly. I thank God you're still here with us on this special day. They love you a lot. Happy birthday, Marvin. Irvin at Woodside, happy birthday to Irvin at Woodside from your husband Bradley, your kids, family, and friends, and all who love you. Enjoy this special day. Happy birthday to Jador Coverley. It's coming from your mom, your dad, and brother, and from Uncle Levan and Freedom Marsh. Oh, this year?
This is my wonderful niece. To my wonderful, I only have one niece, you know.
Jador.
To my one wonderful niece whom I love with my whole heart. And to my entire reason for coming to Grand Bahama every single time I get an opportunity. To the girl who I've watched grow over these past, what is it now, 9 years? I've watched her turn from a baby that would never smile, spiritual advisor, into someone that is a buzzing and bubbly personality. And I love her so dearly. And she never misses Freedom March. She is indeed one of the baby them.
Okay.
And so,
We appreciate
Chador,
that.
happy birthday, darling, from your wonderful uncle, whom you love so much, Uncle Leland.
And Freedom March.
And Freedom March. See that?
Great. Hold on. We'd like to send a happy birthday shout out to Trudy down at Fish Fry from Chris and the entire Bahamas Legends Museum family. Producer, that notice from the Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches Authority. The notice reads as follows. The Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches Authority advises that all previous contracts are no longer valid unless a new contract has been signed. Do not cut any green space or previously contracted areas unless you've been officially contracted and assigned your updated location. Please note that many zones have been changed, and this is to avoid confusion or duplication of work. So thank you for your cooperation in this matter. And this is coming from the Bahamas Public Parks and Public Beaches Authority. And this is very important, especially the part where it says, please note that many zones have changed, and that is because we're trying to avoid confusion or duplication of work. Because I can tell you, you can't pay two people for doing the same area, and that has happened in the past. Okay, so please take note of this notice for you contractors who have had previous contracts with the public parks and public beaches authority. Thank you, producer.
Good. All right, and so since I feel like opening up the line early today, let's go back to more of the show. So because I'm not a smart man, I like to ask ChatGPT things because, I mean, although I've not gotten to the level of some of you all where I'm dating my AI who tells me how wonderful of a person I am every day and feeds into my megalomania, I do from time to time ask ChatGPT random questions that I can't find or wouldn't be able to unbiasedly come up with an answer for. So I asked ChatGPT today, post the thing from ChatGPT, please. No, not that one. 5 reasons why. 5 main reasons why Darren Enfield may not offer to represent North Abaco again. This isn't Levan, this is ChatGPT. Here are 5 reasons Darren Enfield may choose not to offer himself again for North Abaco. Party redeployment. The Free National Movement has already ratified Enfield for the South Beach constituency in the upcoming election, suggesting strategic shift away from North Abaco. This move may reflect internal party decisions rather than personal preference. 2, electoral defeat in 2021. Enfield lost in North Abaco seat in 21 general election. That result may have signaled diminished local support and shifting political dynamics, prompting a reassessment of his electoral prospects there. 3, post-Dorian recovery frustrations. Despite his visible presence during and after Dorian, Enfield has expressed disappointment with the pace and recovery in Abaco. He criticized the lack of progress on infrastructure and housing projects initiated during his tenure, which may contribute to the sense of unfinished business. What else did they say? 4 was constituent expectations and scrutiny. Representing a storm-ravaged constituency like North Abaco comes with intense pressure and high expectation. The emotional logistics toll of that responsibility may influence his decision to step aside, and the desire to serve where most needed. That's ChatGPT. Don't move. We'll be back. Hello, thank you so much for staying with us through the break. I'm Levan Miller. Welcome back to Freedom March. You're listening to us on channel 103.5 The Beat, channel 224, channel 112, and on ILTV Studios. That's on cable and Flow and Facebook. I don't say it for you if you're already here listening to me, because you already know our call signs. I say it so that you can get on your phone and call your friend and tell your friend to stop whatever other nonsense that is they're doing, to turn that off immediately, and to come over here and listen to us on Freedom March. Why? Because it is our goal here to educate, to inform, and every now and again, to entertain. All right? So I'm gonna open the phone lines. Colin Waters, call me. I got big time DJ looking for you, my brother. So I don't know, this may be your one last chance. Give me a call at some point here on this show so that I could find a way to get a contact number for you and I could get that over to a general in the DJ world, one Barry the Pusher, eh? All right, good. Now, I can do this and then I can stop. You comfortable with that, spiritual advisor? Good. Take me to my last two ChatGPT clips, because if I have to sit down and do research for these shows, then y'all have to see what I research, right? What contributed to Darren Henfield's electoral defeat in 2021? This ain't Levan, this ChatGPT. Hurricane Dorian response. Many residents felt the diminished administration in which Henfield served as Foreign Affairs Minister mishandled the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian. Criticisms include delays in aid distribution, lack of transparency, and perceived insensitivity, such as the Prime Minister's absence from the memorial events. Frustration with the FNM nationally. Voter sentiment across Abaco reflected broader dissatisfaction with the Free National Movement. As one local leader put it, anyone who ran under the Free National Movement was going to take the brunt with menace. Unfinished recovery projects. Henfield himself later expressed disappointment over stalled initiatives in North Abaco, including a hurricane shelter funded through international aid and critical infrastructures like road, docks, and the Leonard Thompson International Airport. And let me add this. Now, this is Levan, and I remember when their Minister of Disaster, who was in fact a disaster, said that she hoped she could get it finished. But I see that it was vandalized the other day, so who knows when it will be completely finished. Number 4, low voter turnout in 2021. The 2021 election saw reduced participation in Abaco, which may have disproportionately affected the Free National Movement's candidate, who relied on strong base mobilization. And 5, loss of historical stronghold. North Abaco had long been an FNM bastion under Hubert Ingram. The 2021 loss marked a symbolic shift, with both Abaco seats flipping to the PLP for the first time in years. All right, we can open the phone lines now. Spiritual, give me the numbers.
323-7775 is the number to call. 698-0775 and 698-0776. Call us. There are some concerns, especially coming from the Marathon Constituency Office, where I understand Lisa Raman is the MP, and they're saying that the young people, what happened is the contracts now that are being cancelled, only one set of persons are getting contracts in the Marathon constituency.
Are those people FNAs?
We don't know, but they're saying this is unfair. You have some young folks down Swords Road corner opposite Superwash. They can't get anything to do. This is wrong, and these young men and women, they want to work. But I believe the MPs only assign certain amount of contracts from beaches and parks. If I'm not mistaken, it could be between 15 to 20 contracts. I don't know if they increase that number. So it's kind of difficult for the MP to be able to satisfy everybody, because now that the election is on the horizon. I think what most MPs are doing, they've had people who've had these contracts for a couple of years.
And they're shuffling them.
Right.
Okay.
So
well,
that's what may happen. So,
let me say this. Parkers ain't give me no road contract. So if you're digging up for that, let me tell you the things that don't dig up for, right? Because I know how the troll, the political troll patrol go.
Can we get 3 calls?
I ain't have no boyfriend, so don't look for that. I ain't have no government contract, so don't look for that. And I ain't want no favors. So to all the people in government that feel like I can need a favor at some point, and when I come to them because they play for the other team, they go hold their bowels of compassion against me, I wish your eyeball boys out your head from pressure. That's what I wish. Since your bowels so tight. Because I don't need anything. I know in whom I believe. And guess what? I believe he's able. Man, I feel my Church of God flaring up in here. Let's go to the phone lines. Hello, caller. Welcome to Freedom March.
Yes, good afternoon, Levan.
Hi.
Good afternoon, spiritual advisor.
Yes, sir.
You know, Levan, what is so interesting, you eloquently spoke truth to power as it relates to Darren Henfield. You know, because he lives in Carmichael. And not one meeting, the only meeting he came to in Carmichael was when Mr. Pintat them came there to introduce Kamalafi. He wouldn't come into a meeting in Carmichael, not while I was chairman. So for him now to run from Abaco to South Beach, that's a slap in the face to the people of South Beach.
Well, I want to say that Darren Henfield is one of my absolute favorite people on the planet, you know. Darren Henfield is my very first commanding officer. Do you know that about him?
Yeah.
When I joined the Navy as a young, strong run and gun, it was Darren Henfield that guided me down the path towards righteousness and gave me opportunities that were above my pay scale, which subsequently turned me into a high-speed, low-drag, no-nonsense Marine. I will forever be in his debt for that. But as far as my community is concerned, me and the commander have differences of opinion here, and I cannot hide them.
You know, you're not the only one, you know. But see, the thing is, they have been so blinded by what has been going on within the F&M organization that they hate to realize that they themselves were part of the downfall, where they were so busy trying to destroy Dr. Minnis. They destroyed their own value.
Wow.
Of which they have none now.
All right, thank you so much, caller. We appreciate your call.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Magnetic Media, Bahamas, April 25th, 2017 says, Hubert Ingram is back and raring to go. The former Free National Movement leader, I know the calls are there, seen in North Abaco lending support to candidate Darren Henfield, told supporters gathered to expect to hear from him in the upcoming rallies carded for early May, where he will list a number of reasons why you shouldn't vote for the PLP. Meanwhile, he called out the current member of Parliament and MP for the area, Renato Curry, his absenteeism in Parliament. Curry has missed 102 out of 220 days in the House and said to have topped as the MP with the highest number of absent days from Parliament. Ingram says in 40 years of service as Member of Parliament, he has only missed 2 days. Mr. Ingram comments also come 1 week after current F&M leader Dr. Minnis was questioned by the media for missing days in Parliament, where he responded that he was occupied with campaigning to get Prime Minister Christie's job. The House of Assembly report exposed that elected members have missed hundreds of meetings. Curry called it an intentional maneuver to embarrass him. Ingram told North Abaco that the time had come to return the seat to the F&M as he counted Henfield a quality candidate who would take care of the constituency. My question is, what is the grade he would get if this report here had to be graded based on Mr. Ingram's comments? Or was it because it was a Churchillian time he couldn't perform? Because that would disappoint me, because that is where Marines should perform, under pressure, always. Phone line. Hello, caller. Welcome to Freedom March. Caller, you there? No? Let's take another one. 323-7775. Hello, caller. Welcome to Freedom March. Nope, not there. Give us a call back. 6980775 or 6980776. Hello, caller. Welcome to Freedom March.
Levan.
Hey.
What's up, man?
I feel good. If something's happening to me, I don't know it yet.
Spiritual advisor.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I am wonderful. This is Nana Boy, CNN. Listen, I listening to the debates
Nana Boy
with the F&M and the candidates that are being chosen or selected so far. And Levan, I don't know if you remember, spiritual advisor might be a little too young to remember this program. There was a program used to come on an American station called The Rejects from the Gong Show.
I might be too young to know about that, but
you mean when you say Rejects from the Gong Show, like they would sing and then you have somebody with this thing hitting this thing, say boom.
Yeah, they were rejected from the Gong Show. So, you know, once a Gong Show reject you, you really don't get the chance to come back around again.
I remember the Gong Show.
And that is what they're doing with these political parties, especially the FNM, because one of my half-brothers have been rejected the first time and is now back at the door. Reject. And if you want to do something to me, taking into consideration the political atmosphere in this country in 52 years, man, you got to bring me something new, man.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And let me say this: there was a time when I said publicly that I think that Darren Enfield would make a wonderful deputy prime minister at some point, based on where I saw the trajectory of the Free National Movement going. I knew that they would be in a state of disarray following the last election, and I said if he survived the blast, he could let Travis Robinson lead, and he could be deputy, right? And then they would be able to sell a wonderful youth and experience ticket. Regrettably, that just isn't the way the cards panned out. I think he's 62 now, I think it is. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. And I get it. If he wants to offer national service, this might be the end of a closing door for him. What I'm saying, though, is take that over in Bamboo Town. Practice that somewhere up in Southern Shores. Don't bring it to South Beach. That's what I say.
Exactly. Listen, you think former Marvin Deans, if reelected, to change his modus operandi, or he can change his spots.
I only want quote Marvin
Johnson will do the singing.
I only want quote Marvin. Marvin said I only want quote Marvin. Marvin says he has a lot of unfinished business to do. All I've heard over the last 4 years is people have questions or concerns about the drone program. That is what I've heard. Now, I've also said publicly that during the tenure of Marvin Dames as Minister of National Security, the crime numbers looked immaculate. But I don't ever credit crime to a minister. I think the duo of Anthony Ferguson and Solomon Cash had a tremendous policing strategy that I witnessed with my own eyes. And so I will give him his credit. While he was minister, Pookie them ain't do 100 under him no time. But when you say things to me like if you got some unfinished business to do, I have to question if that have anything to do with the drones that people have been asking about for the last 4 years.
Now listen, one more thing.
Okay.
There are 3 young ladies that are very special to me.
Now hold on. Before you get to the young ladies, because I got the ticket to that young lady, and you know her. Come back and say whether or not she even attended the event and whether it was a success.
Listen to me. You jumped the gun. Say sorry and mean it.
All right, go ahead.
Today, I tried to call you to thank you. You always running on so much. The show run all the time.
Well, this is a talk show. This is a talk show. You call a talk show. What you think? What you want me in here to do? What you want me in here to do?
I apologize because I tried to call you and I was calling you to row you. And you know why? I was calling you to fuss you because you're going all the way down there to give my job one ticket.
Well, you want me to give her 2 tickets, next thing you know, she show up here with a pair of hard hands? How that could benefit any of us?
Well, what she laid them out on you. So I would like to send a special shout out to the Valley's little drummer girl, Anya. I would like to say a special belated birthday to Yvonne Aubrey Bristol Aubrey, the most beautiful policewoman I know ever know in the police force. And I ain't joking with that. And I would also like to send a special hello to Bradley Roberts Jr. in Canada.
All right.
That's a good.
Okay, that's fine.
So thanks for taking my call.
Appreciate you, GNN. Let's take another one. 323-777-569-80775. We got more calls on the line. Let's take them. Hello, caller.
Special advisor.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Levan.
Hey, buddy.
Listen to me. Allow me to say a happy belated birthday to the deputy to the Governor General in the person of Ms. Ruby Ann Cooper Darling. Her birthday was on Saturday. She celebrated her birthday on Saturday. Now, let's get to business. Please, Mr. Levan, stop trying to send that man to get his political career killed in Bamboo Town. Don't send him around Bamboo Town. Only the strong will survive in Bamboo Town. Now, I don't care how much Marine he is. Don't send him up in here.
Okay. So you say you want somebody who can hunt. You say you want someone who can hunt. I sending you a hunt. You say you want someone. You say you want someone who could hunt. Let me tell you, Commander Darren
No, she
Henfield.
can't.
Commander Darren Henfield is a CARICOM veteran. You know he has a medal for service in CARICOM to Haiti. All he could do is hunt, beloved.
Well, he should go into Michael area. But listen to me. If these members of parliament are the FNM now trying to recycle, if they were doing so good where they were, why they moving someplace else?
Well, Ellsworth going back from where he come from. Marvin going back from where he come from. Adrian White and the buffoonery is going back from where he come from. I can't explain what was the rush to nominate him. But, yeah, so some of the FNMs are going back to where they come from.
But listen to me. The gentleman, let me say, the caller that was on a couple of minutes ago, in the four last elections we had, the four last ones, besides this one right here now, he had a sitting, either sister or brother in the House of Assembly. 3 or the 4.
Okay.
So, I don't know if he just deal with them, because it sounded like he happy with some things that was going on. I don't know if he have the air to tell him that bro or sis do this differently. But he had 3 or the 4.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, caller. They appreciate you calling. All right. Okay. Welcome to Freedom March, caller. You're live.
Good afternoon, Ivan. Good afternoon, Spiritual Advisor. How are you doing?
Good. How
Thank
you
you so
doing, buddy?
much.
I'm great, man. I just called in to say I attended the opening of the COI National Headquarters on Saturday.
Yes.
And the crowd was very overwhelming.
Okay.
I mean, the building was so packed, and outside of the tent, there were crowds of behemoths outside, and they couldn't get inside how crowded the building was.
I actually want to talk about that tomorrow because I see the police. I haven't gotten to the bottom of the story with why the police had a roadblock in the area. Of course, police has police intelligence, and so I don't know what they knew. But I still doing a little bit of sifting about to see if I could understand what exactly transpired.
Right. Yeah, man, that seemed to be planned.
Well, I can tell you this.
Open up the headquarters and they just decided to come there, blocking behemoths from attending the event.
Well, I could tell you this from my own personal experience that sometimes it's really not planned. It's a simple matter of lack of coordination. So let me just say, based on what I know from the past, that there have been scenarios like this and people had to make a call simply not to act. And it wasn't because anyone was trying to be malicious. It was just because the effort wasn't coordinated. Are you making sense to you? So you may find a time when a group like a Lincoln Bain and the COI get together. And maybe they didn't expect their crowd to spill out into the streets or whatever the thing is. And the commissioner of police has some operation going on. Sometimes it's a simple matter of not enough letter passing, is what I'm saying to you. And that's why I didn't come here and talk about it, because I want to actually find out what happened. And then I'd be able to offer my opinion, eh?
Okay. But from what I saw, they came with record drivers and everything.
Wow. Well, all I want to say is when the FNA has their launch, we won't have any of that, all right?
All right, next question. If you was to run for next election under the FNA, if it was a real body, would you run in South Beach against Bacchus?
No.
Why?
I don't think Bacchus is beatable.
You can't beat Bacchus.
I don't think, not coming from behind, no. I wouldn't run against Bacchus.
He'll go in Bamboo Town.
I'd go in Bamboo Town. I'd go in Bamboo Town. And I'll tell you why, it's because subsequently my constituency would still pick up the benefits. You know that Bamboo Town borders South Beach almost along its entire northern boundary. You realize that?
Right.
So I would go in Bamboo Town. I don't think Patricia could outrun me. Look at her. I mean, I think I could beat her running. So she would have to keep up with me. And I'd take my chances there. But Bacchus is 6'5". He have a longer stride. Trying to catch him just could be difficult. Yeah, so I certainly wouldn't run against Bacchus. Not if election was called tomorrow and I was going in there as leader of the FNA. Not against Bacchus Road.
I also attended the FNM unveil of the candidates. And I heard Michael Pintar saying that change is incoming, change is here.
Which I also thought
was... My ex-caller in the COI been saying that.
And this is how you know they're not ready to govern. That was so poorly advised. Who wrote this speech?
Boy.
Who wrote this speech? Lincoln been screaming changes here for 3 years. You get up as the leader of the Free National Movement. I wouldn't even put the word change in my speech. But this is what has happened when all you do is let ChatGPT write your speech, you know.
True.
Yeah, when all you're doing is letting ChatGPT write your speech and you ain't vetting it properly, go back to having a human speech writer. That makes sense. All right. Thank you, caller.
All right, thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
man.
323-7775. The whisper saying more things to you?
Yeah, man. They,
What whisper?
they say, well, you know, you will always run in a consistency where you got to show up in.
And I wouldn't run against Bacchus.
Yeah, you should try. I mean, you may beat
No,
him.
man.
You may beat
The
him.
people of South Beach voted
love
against
Bacchus,
me
eh? Yeah,
before.
Bacchus is a good guy.
The people of South Beach voted against me before. Why would I go back?
That's true. You lost as
Yeah.
an independent.
Against 3 parties, but a loss is a loss. I'll take that. Hello, caller. Welcome to Freedom March.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Doing well.
This is Greg Burrows.
Hey, Mr. Burrows, how's everything?
Mr. Greg,
right.
Mr. Greg Burrows.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Former chairman of Parks and Beaches.
Wonderful to have you. I wish you'd called earlier. We could have you on for half of the show. How's everything,
Yeah.
sir?
No. I would like a favor.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like for the spiritual advisor to read that text on his phone for me. That I understand you read later about Parks and Beaches.
And the untrained lifeguards.
About lifeguards.
Yeah. The one from Shannon on.
Yeah.
Yeah, read that back.
Okay. All right, from the former chairman of Beach and Parks.
He's the former chairman, yes.
Shannon Cartwright, right?
Uh-huh. What does it say?
All right. I get it for you right now. Here's what it says.
Uh-huh. Point out they lost the text?
No. I haven't lost it. It says, we were trying to restart it with proper personnel. When we came in office, that's the Free National Movement, 75% of the lifeguards could not swim and didn't have a clue. Exactly. He said, we engaged the Defense Force to talk about a partnership and look at the possibility of persons from the hotel. Issue of compensation was a sticking point. We couldn't match the private sector. What say you, Greg? It's laughable? Are you there, Greg?
I think it's a joke. It's a joke. First of all, there was 12 lifeguards that we graduated during the time I was there. And all of them were properly trained. All of them could have swum. Most of them came from the private sector, the hotels. And on the graduation day on Long Walk Beach, all of them was in the water. All of them displayed their talent in the water. So all I'm saying, I guess, is political season upon us. And if my good friend Shannon Dawn wants some political points, maybe he should speak the truth.
But he did say that, apparently he didn't make any issue somewhat with those who couldn't swim. What he tried to do is to see how best he could accommodate them by...
Tell him give you the 25% of them who either could swim or couldn't swim.
Yeah, I just sent him a text.
Yeah, because he said 75% of them can't swim.
Yeah, he said they couldn't swim.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah.
So, but let me ask you a question.
As a matter of fact, I probably can see him this afternoon walking.
Okay.
And I asked him to please call yours and correct that.
Mr. Chairman, before you go, can I ask you a question? How long does it take to train a lifeguard?
Well, most of the lifeguards came in there from the hotel.
Okay.
So most of them were certified lifeguards, and then we run them through. So, but first they had called a doctor's hospital for the certification. And I really don't remember how long the first aid course took.
If it's the one that I did, it's 6 days, I think.
You know, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But the statement is an untrue statement, you know.
Yeah.
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 They may have, they misplaced the facts
sometimes. Right on the side, you tell him to ask his friend to call and to correct that.
And I will. And listen, I can tell you that Greg Burrows is truly my friend. He's the only PLB chairman that gave me a contract. The only one.
Cool.
Wow.
Hey, see you all later, man.
All right. So what we know is that it don't take 4 years to train a lifeguard. And so just like how you go on and get lifeguard. See, executive chairman can't tell me nothing because they have the power to sign. Listen, I worked with the National Health Insurance Authority. And what a wonderful time it was. I mean, you could just get things done. Things moved very fluid. There wasn't no bunch of backing and forwarding because I don't be into too much backing and forwarding. All right? Let's just get the things done. We put things into the board, through the governance committee, and it came out. And that was where I actually met, Mr. Komalafi. Great guy. I mean, I wish I could serve on every other board for the rest of my life.
He probably don't like you now because you constantly cursing on his wife.
I think his wife is a political novice.
Yeah.
And it's very sophomoric in a lot of her behavior, but I think he is a wonderful guy. Anyway, that's the jingle. We are out of time. Thank you so much for being here on Freedom March with us. We'll see you again tomorrow.
If it's the Lord's will, we'll be back.